Hello, Virgo, and welcome to Metamorphosis from Planet Waves. That's me. Your 2021 autumn reading. I'm here with some information about your astrology. Please note, I'm working on a new video system to get off the computer, so I'm just working from a proper camera, and I haven't quite figured out how to work the charts. I guess not so bad, but it'll be a little bit different. It's a new system, and so mainly a new frame to work in. And I'm going to point out things about your charts, but the chart itself is located right on the same page as your reading. Therefore, I'll point it out, and then you can see what it is. The first thing, well, let's talk about the theme of the reading. The theme of the reading is the place where massive public friction and changes in the nature of society intersect with the most private and personal aspects of our lives. We are in a very unusual time for this to be. This is happening in weird ways right now. I'm a student of the 1960s and 1970s. Where it was an issue then, it was in the 1970s that Adrienne Rich wrote, "There's no private life that's not in some way determined by a larger public life." And now this has just been turned up to 11. We are absolutely being overwhelmed by the unbelievable pressure we are being put on to conform both to government and corporate policy and to private interference from citizens and people who have absolutely no right to an opinion about what you do with your private life. And I'm not saying this in any way to be a bad citizen or to be unpatriotic. I'm saying it with an understanding of and a prevailing therapy and spiritual philosophy of we must be the people who make the decisions in our own lives. We are responsible for our lives. That is our karma at this time. We came to Earth at this time to make choices and to live in a way where we are among one another, but also ultimately responsible to ourselves and to the people closest to us for the decisions that we make. And so when there is all of this overpowering pressure placed upon people to do something, anything at all, no matter what aspect of life it is, and man, we are getting personal in this time in history, absolutely ridiculously, unhelpfully overbearing. Our goal, I think, you may not agree for your life, but try this on for size. Our goal is to actualize ourselves. Our goal is to be. By our, I mean at this time in world history and at this time where we have been bestowed with a measure of freedom in our society. The nature of the experiment is to be free and to be real and to figure out how to get along and work with one another. And that is not about simply doing what you're told. There's no personal choice in that. And I would remind you of the very important work of a psychiatrist named Erich Fromm, who explained why people tend to advocate their ability to make decisions, and the reason people tend to do this is because it's just simply easier. There's no bother in just doing what you're told, and at the same time, it's possible to escape responsibility or to seem to escape responsibility for the choices that you make. So bearing that all in mind, and that the theme of both this reading and the astrology as I see it is to study this intersection of the collective and the personal, and to provide you with certain ideas that will be helpful in navigating this what has become very treacherous territory. So I want to start with a big idea in your chart. And I've talked about this in a number of other forums. There's the thing in a chart called the zone of projection. So the Virgo chart, all that means, whether we're talking Virgo moon, Virgo rising, Virgo sun, Virgo Chiron, Virgo, a question related to Virgo, a chart that happened to come up at this time, anything related to Virgo has Virgo in the first house, and that puts Pisces on the seventh house. That's a very important element of your astrology right now that I'll get into in a moment. The the There is a thing I've referred to a number of times, and even had a searchable interview. Ani Black, Aniblack, of an astrologer out from Vancouver, British Columbia, came up with the concept of the zone of projection, and that is the western quadrant of the chart, essentially. And so the western quadrant of the chart is house 5, 6, 7, 8, Schlemiel, Shemazel, House Rev Incorporated. These houses are the zone of projection. And that means that they are essentially the relationship houses. House 5, playful and romantic and creative relationships. House 6, work relationships. House 7, partnerships and potentially marriage partners and enemies. And then 8th, shared resources, the place where people's lives intersect with our own the most profoundly. And so I've drawn in these light blue lines here to show you what a big section of your chart is essentially placed squarely in the zone of projection. Virgo wins the prize. You have all of the houses in the zone of projection, and what I am calling the hot zone of the current astrology. And then so this includes the sign Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, Aries. That's where pretty much everything is going on right now. Yes, there's Uranus and Taurus. We're used to that, and that's exciting. It's a little bit out of the zone of projection for you, but I'll get to it. And what happens when there's so much going on in the zone of projection is that it makes it difficult to tell the difference between what is yours and what is someone else's, or as Tom York said, where I end and you begin. And this is a central question of our lives. We talk casually about boundary issues and codependency, and the thing about boundary issues and codependency is they all are about the subject of where I end and where you begin, and we have to take this into account in every facet of our lives. For example, I'm sitting here all alone, except for my dog Jonah Kelly Francis, who's right down by my desk, talking into a video camera, and that you're going to listen to as something that is about you. So to do that, I have to have a sense of where I end and you begin. There's going to be some overlap. I'm expressing certain values to you. You have to know enough to know, well, I'm something external to yourself. I'm an invited guest. You paid to see this video. However, I have to know where I end and you begin, and keep this focused on you as much as I can. And then you need to know that I'm a person, I need to look right into the lens there. A person external to yourself who's saying these things. And so this is a major spiritual facet of the growth and learning in Dharma and Karma that we are dealing with right now, because there have been a number of places where that line between where I end and you begin, me being all of society, the government, the corporations, Big Brother, and the rest of them, are attempting to completely impose themselves upon your reality, and essentially get every day trying to get you to make choices that you would not even have had to think about had this agenda not been pushed up to the top, and had you been essentially forced and pressured into addressing subject matter that is really never would have been on your agenda, never would have been any part of your business, and because of the zone of projection thing, because all of this action in Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, and Aries is all taking place in your zone of projection. There are going to be many places and many people attempting to impose their reality upon you, and you are going to need to have the discernment and the strength and the stamina to stand up to that. And people think that they're big and bad, and the reality is most of them couldn't stand up to the receptionist giving them a hard time. Most of them can't stand up to a customer service representative giving them a hard time, much less stand up to the entire United States government, the World Health Organization, and the Centers for Disease Control, Merck Pharmaceutical, Pfizer, Moderna, and the rest of them. Let's be realistic here. Most people don't have the strength to stand up to their neighbor, much less to the entire society. And so I am strongly encouraging you to learn how to stand up to the world around you, and to be very serious about the line where you end and others begin, and where others end and where you begin, and to be vigilant about that. I don't mean to get in the way of anyone's we are all one whole thing, but that we are all one thing is an invitation to clinical codependency, the inability to distinguish between the self and the other, and then all kinds of enabling behavior where one person facilitates the other person having sacrificing responsibility for their life in some way, or facilitates all kinds of self-destructive behavior. And so that is where we are right now. And all of the major planets are involved in this process. And here in Pluto, in the fifth house, where you are, let's say, trying to have some fun and experience your creative life, and get some pleasure out of your existence. There's Pluto. Capricorn is a sign closely associated with family. That's not that easy to have on the fifth house. As I've said many times in Virgo readings, the presence of Capricorn in the fifth place from Virgo is all about the growing up too soon. It's got that latchkey thing where you're not only expected to not have your parents home when you get home from school. You're the one who makes mom dinner. That's a Capricorn on the fifth house thing. It's the Sabian symbol, if you've ever studied those, of the child having to carry groceries that they can't really handle. It's adult responsibility imposed upon children, and all of society is in the midst of playing some form of this game, and it's largely driven by Pluto. But the problem here is that it may actually feel to you like there are people who are getting in your way, and who specifically are interfering with your ability to have fun. If you're thinking that, you might not be dreaming. You still have to do the work of claiming back the fun that you want to have. However, there is infiltration, and it is not merely infiltration from the external society. A lot of it is infiltration that has to do with your family background. It's infiltration that has to do with the conditioning that you've been through in previous incarnations, and from childhood forward, to be compliant, and to be a good little boy or a good little girl. Very fifth house is about childhood, and much of what we're seeing now is the attempt to infantilize people. And this is good therapy is all about learning how to get out of that infantilizing, and bad family behavior is all about making sure that people are stuck in their role as the helpless child. And if I had to assign one evolutionary message, with this concept of evolutionary being something of a takeoff on the concept of Pluto as the evolutionary driver. I would say it is about learning how to be a fully responsible, functioning adult in your own life. Next is Aquarius. Here's where there's Aquarius in the chart. That's house 6 for you, right here. And house 6 is about your work, and it's also about your health. And here's where you may be getting the brunt of things. Bearing in mind a little bit that that Virgo is in itself a sign closely associated with health and the holistic principle. There's also quite a few hypochondriacs associated with Virgo, and that is to say the constant worry about sickness and the constant need to be pursuing medical investigations. But the challenge here, the particular challenge is that house 6 is it's either a personal house or it's a house that really should be between you and your massage therapist, between you and your therapist, between you and your doctor, right? The sixth house is not a place where the public is generally invited. There are not really acupuncture parties, and there's not really bulimia parties either. I mean, maybe there are. I don't know. I'm actually more likely to have a bulimia party than an acupuncture party, and that's strange. But you have Aquarius on this house, and the presence of Aquarius on this house is going to make you susceptible to public trends in wellness. And so this is a partial picture of where Virgo is a sign associated with public trends in wellness. That is to say, what is the newest diet fad? What is the newest health fad? It's CoQ10 today. It's vitamin C yesterday. It's vitamin D tomorrow. It's all of these things that are supposed to bestow immortality. They don't. They may have their use for a moment. There's some truth in all of them, but they are still public trends. And what we're experiencing right now is a massive public trend associated with a kind of a health fad, and it is like nothing I have ever seen in my life, and I've been fairly close to the New Age, natural food, and all those movements, and I've never seen anything like this. And so the caution here is that your concept of your wellness, what wellness means for you, bienestar in Spanish, what your journey to wholeness is, your journey to wholeness, and it's vitally important at this time that you make up your own choices when it comes to what health and wellness mean for you. Part of what's going on is that you have Aquarius on the 6th, which makes it challenging enough to have your own concept of health and wellness as independent from what they're all doing in California. But at the moment, you have Saturn moving through your 6th house, and you have Jupiter moving through your 6th house. And Saturn moving through your 6th and Jupiter moving through your 6th are the two largest, most massive planets in the entire solar system. Together comprising 2,200 times the size of the Earth and somewhere around 1,000 times the mass of the Earth. This is a lot of public pressure and influence. Virgo is one of the signs that is the most adept at reading, at study, at relational knowledge, at considering things from an abstract and theoretical standpoint. Please do this. Use the power that you have as an independent thinker to be able to make your own choices based on your own information, and to not submit to any trend that is happening. Because ultimately, no matter what people may think, no matter what the trend may be, no matter what anyone else may attempt to say is good for you, which usually means good for business, you have to live with the choices that you make. And I would add that with Saturn and Jupiter here, there's a lot more going on than anything you can see in the news, and that this is a very important time to make choices and make decisions that will influence your health and your wellness for the rest of your life. And as a Virgo, the one thing you really want to be watching for is, are those choices being made from a holistic standpoint? Meaning, are you taking into account the ways in which the whole is greater than the sum of the parts, and where there is no one solution for everything, and also where there is a symptom of any kind, that means to look at what's coming from the background rather than what is being pried in front of your face in the foreground, what someone else may be insisting the problem is over and over again. You've got to figure out what you need to take care of. You've got to figure out what you need to do, and to make the choices based on your best actual judgment from a complete and circumspect investigation of the facts that you are willing to take full responsibility for. I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm, being like harsh mother here, but for fuck's sake, it is your life. It is not. It's not anybody else's life, and it's certainly not any public official's life. And in my entire career, I've only known one public health official who actually had the concerns of the public at heart. One, Arnold Schechter. I've got his book down there, the former Binghamton, New York, Broome County Health Commissioner. A couple of more things. This all comes home to roost in an event that takes place in your second house. And this really, really sums it up beautifully. I forgot to draw that in. All right, let's draw that in. That is a conjunction of Mars, the Sun, and Mercury in a conjunction in Libra. And this is a very exciting, but also troublesome and possibly cautionary event. I've drawn it into the chart here in its own color. And this is Mars, the Sun, and Mercury all form an alignment on the 8th and the 9th of October. And this is a real moment of choice. This is a real, we're not seeing it now. Mercury hasn't stationed retrograde. Mercury stations retrograde 3 days out from the time that I am doing this, reading. But there is going to be a crescendo reached. There's going to be a crescendo reached around the 8th and the 9th. And where this is taking place is in your second house of values. So the second house of values is, quickly going over the history of the second house, it's your movable possessions, it's the tools of your trade, it's your available cash. That's what we're told. When you look at the books on the bottom shelf of that bookshelf back there, the old books, that's what the second house is. As we move into modern psychological astrology, the second house is that which you value. So it's no longer just the tools of your trade. It's the things you possess inside of yourself that are the basis for the decisions that you are making. And the basis for the decisions that you are making that's how you run your life, is based on these pre-established, what I would call profound priorities that influence and affect every single issue, right? So values are values are to your life what electricity is to a circuit. It could be any circuit, but the power, the motive, the motion, the electrons moving, the energy is all going to come from your values. And so you're reaching this point where there is this question of what is the basis of your decisions? And to my thinking, all of this stuff going on here in this hot zone, which for you is in the zone of projection, is all going to come home to roost with whatever unfolds in October. And what I am seeing, though I'm not going to, I'm going to be what my friend Rick Tarnas says, be archetypally predictive, is a shit show that is going to really, really push the line between public and private. And so be aware of that, and be aware of fear. I've studied viruses. I wrote my first article on viruses in 1982, 40 years. There's no virus that bad. There just isn't. Unless it, in fact, was made in a gain-of-function lab, and my source on biochemistry says even that's a crock of horseshit. Let's do one more point of astrology. Seventh house. This is more cautionary. Seventh is the real, like, the vortex of the zone of projection. You have Pisces on your seventh house. That's nice in some ways, but the challenge of having Pisces on your seventh house is that Pisces really raises quite a few questions of what's true and what's imaginary. And at the moment, you have Neptune in your seventh, it's making a long trip through Pisces. There it is. And then there's Nessus in Pisces. It is making an even longer trip, long after, I think, right around when Neptune leaves Pisces, leaves Aries, even the next sign, and enters Taurus. That's when Nessus leaves Pisces. So you have influences coming in through your seventh house that are requiring you to be discerning about what is true and what is not true. You really have to be cautious and careful and make up your mind about everything. And it does not mean make up your mind quickly. And there is no there is no need to rush the matter of making up your mind. Anytime someone puts a gun to your head, it's like, what are you doing with that gun? You're telling me you're putting a gun to my head and making me make a choice? Let's talk about this gun first of all. But remember, most people have a hard time standing up to their neighbor. Most people have a hard time standing up to their children. Most people have a hard time standing up to their partner or their spouse, much less somebody who is threatening you in some way. And the nature of your astrology is, and I've talked about this much more in many past readings, and I stopped talking about it after a while or toned it down. Having Chiron and Aries in your eighth house is the great granddaddy, right up here, is the great granddaddy of where do I end and you begin, and your potential, let's say, life path of losing yourself in another person and their values, only to find yourself again, is now becoming a thing of the past. It is now time to find yourself and then have an equal meeting with others and their values on level ground. You digging me? We are equal beings, and the universe is our relationship to one another. And I would suggest you get used to telling people, put away the gun. Stop threatening my life. Try it. It's easy. Ready? Let's do it together. Put away that gun. Stop threatening my life. And there are certain people you want to say, and go home. Okay. Thank you for being in my home or inviting me into your home. If you're not Virgo rising, please check your rising sign. Thank you for your business, your trust, and mostly for the time you've afforded me to deliver this message to you. All right. Thanks for listening, and bye for now.